The subconscious is the womb of creation. It receives the idea into itself through the medium of feeling. It never changes the idea received, but always gives it form. Therefore, the subconscious outpictures the idea in the likeness of the feeling received. Neville Goddard, Feeling is the Secret, 1944. You believe that your reality is a construction of hard labor, digital metrics, and the favor of external authorities. You wake up in the year 2026 and immediately surrender your power to the glowing numbers on a screen, believing that your bank balance is a cause rather than a consequence. You are fundamentally mistaken. You are standing in front of a mirror, screaming at the reflection to change its expression while your own face remains locked in a grimace of lack and anxiety. The reason 99% of men fail to manifest their desires is that they attempt to think their way into a new life, unaware that the subconscious mind, the true engine of creation, does not speak the language of logic. It does not care about your spreadsheets, your resumes, or your frantic prayers to a distant God. It only understands the visceral, raw quality of your feeling. When you look at your debts and feel the cold knot of fear in your stomach, you are not merely observing a fact, you are giving a command. You are impregnating the womb of creation with the seed of poverty, and the subconscious, being a mindless and perfect servant, has no choice but to bring forth more reasons for you to feel that same fear. The modern professional is a master of thinking about his goals, but a novice in feeling from them. You spend your days in a state of mental rehearsal, imagining a future where you finally have enough, where you are finally respected, where your career finally takes flight. But because you are thinking about these things, you are inherently confirming that they are not currently yours. You are looking at your desire from across a vast, self-imposed distance. In the fourth-dimensional reality that Neville Goddard described in his 1948 Los Angeles lectures, that distance is an illusion. The feeling you carry right now is the only truth the universe recognizes. If you feel underpaid, the universe must provide you with a world that justifies that feeling. If you feel ignored by your industry, the digital algorithms of 2026 will faithfully reflect that invisibility back to you. You're not a victim of a competitive market or a fluctuating economy. You are a victim of your own refusal to feel the reality of your success before the evidence appears. You are waiting for the bank to tell you that you are wealthy before you allow yourself to feel the relief of abundance. You have the process in reverse. The relief must come first. The feeling of being secure must be the foundation upon which the physical wealth is built. You must understand the terrifying impartiality of the subconscious mind. It is the feminine principle of the universe, a fertile soil that accepts every seed you plant with the heat of emotion. It does not judge the seed. It does not ask if you deserve the promotion or if it is realistic for your bank account to double overnight. It simply takes the feeling you provide and objectifies it in your world. If you go to your job every day feeling like a cog in a machine, you are commanding the subconscious to keep you in that mechanical state. You are endowing the idea of insignificance with power through your attention and your mood. The 99% fail because they allow the world of Caesar, the world of physical facts and digital data, to dictate how they feel. They see a bill and they feel lack. They see a rejection and they feel failure. They are puppets dancing to the tune of external circumstances. To manifest, you must become the master of the mirror. You must have the radical discipline to look at a zero balance and feel the heavy, satisfying weight of absolute financial security. You must be able to stand in an empty office and feel the electric buzz of a thriving business. This is not delusion in the way the world defines it. It is the application of the only creative law that exists. Your feeling is the secret because your feeling is the actual substance of the reality you are about to inhabit. Stop trying to make things happen through the force of your will. The conscious mind is the architect. but the subconscious is the builder. When you try to force reality through physical effort, you are confessing that the subconscious has not yet been impressed with the idea. You are trying to build a house with your bare hands while the master builder is asleep. To shift your reality, you must reach into the depths of your being and find the tone of the wish fulfilled. How would you carry your body if you were already the leader of your field? How would your voice sound if you knew with absolute certainty that you were the most valued asset in your company? You must find that feeling and wear it like a garment. You must live in it, breathe in it, and refuse to be moved by the shadows on the screen. The year 2026 is not a prison of technology. It is a landscape of reflections. If you want a different reflection, you must change the man who stands before the glass. You must change the feeling of, I am. Every cent you earn and every professional height you scale will be nothing more than the physical evidence of a feeling you claimed in the silence of your own heart. The struggle ends the moment the feeling of possession begins. Feeling is the one and only medium through which ideas are conveyed to the subconscious. Therefore, the man who does not control his feeling may easily impress the subconscious with undesirable states. By control of feeling is not meant restraint or suppression of your feeling, but rather the disciplining of self to imagine and entertain only such feeling as contributes to your happiness. Neville Goddard, Feeling is the Secret, 1944. You are a reservoir of uncontrolled emotions, and you wonder why your life feels like a chaotic sequence of bad luck and missed opportunities. In this age of instant notifications and digital triggers, you have allowed your internal state to become a reaction to a chaotic world. You check your phone and react to a headline. You check your email and react to a colleague's tone. You check your social feed and react to someone else's manufactured success. In each of these reactions, you are impressing your subconscious with a state of not enough. You are telling your inner creator that you are a victim of a hostile environment. This is why you fail. You are like a captain who has abandoned the wheel of his ship and then complains about the direction of the wind. Neville Goddard's teaching on the discipline of self is not a call to suppress your humanity, but a command to reclaim your sovereignty. You must become the guardian of your feeling, for every feeling is a decree that the subconscious must execute. If you are not consciously choosing your mood, you are unconsciously choosing your fate. The angst of the 21st century man is his belief that he is being honest when he feels stressed about his finances. You think that by acknowledging your anxiety about your bank balance, you are being realistic. But in the realm of the spirit, realism is a death sentence. To feel the reality of lack is to ensure its continuation. The law of assumption is not interested in your honesty regarding your current problems. It is only interested in what you accept as true right now. If you allow yourself to dwell on the feeling of being underappreciated at your job, you are literally training your subconscious to find more ways to make you feel underappreciated. You are providing the blueprint for your own professional stagnation. To manifest, you must be dishonest with the world of Caesar. You must be able to look at the evidence of your senses and deny its authority over your mood. This is the secret that 99% of people will never understand. The feeling must precede the fact. You don't feel successful because you got the promotion. You got the promotion because you successfully occupied the feeling of being the person who is already promoted. Consider the mechanics of your daily mental diet. From the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, what is the dominant tone of your feeling? Are you vibrating at the frequency of trying to get ahead, or the frequency of being there? Trying is a confession of absence. Being is the assertion of presence. In 2026, where the hustle is glorified, you are encouraged to stay in a state of high-stress endeavor. But this stress is the very friction that prevents the subconscious from acting. The subconscious only accepts what you feel to be natural. If your success feels like a miracle or an impossible dream, it remains a dream. It only becomes a physical reality when it feels as mundane and natural as the clothes you are wearing. You must discipline your imagination to entertain only those feelings that align with your desired end. This means that when a thought of financial worry arises, you do not fight it. You simply turn your back on it. You return your attention to the feeling of, it is done. You return to the quiet, boring, stable feeling of security. This is the work of the master. It is a mental labor far more difficult than any physical task, but it is the only labor that yields real results. Your job is not your source of income. Your boss is not your source of security. Your I am, your awareness, and the feeling you attach to it, is the only source. When you realize this, the anxiety of the 21st century loses its grip on you. You stop forcing your manifestations because you realize that you cannot force the subconscious. You can only seduce it with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you want a specific bank balance, stop looking at the numbers and start looking for the feeling of that balance. What would that amount of money feel like in your life? It wouldn't feel like a frantic high. It would feel like a deep sigh of relief. It would feel like the end of a long search. Capture that relief. Stay in it. Let it color your interactions with your colleagues and your family. When you walk through the world with the secret, quiet feeling of having, you become a magnet for the physical evidence. The world will call it luck or good timing, but you will know it is the mechanical result of your disciplined feeling. You have moved your consciousness to a new coordinate, and the physical world has no choice but to follow. Desire is the beginning of all human experience. You must be careful what you desire, for you are likely to get it. But you do not get what you want. You get what you are. Neville Goddard, from his 1948 lecture series. Lesson 2. 99% of the people walking the streets of the 21st century are trapped in the state of wanting. They spend their lives in a perpetual hunger for more money, more status, more recognition, and more security. They believe that desiring something is the same as manifesting it, but they are tragically mistaken. In the law of consciousness, wanting is a confession of not having. Every time you say, I want to be wealthy, you are screaming into the womb of creation that you are currently poor. The subconscious mind, being a perfect mirror, hears your vibration of lack and faithfully provides you with more reasons to want. This is the trap that keeps men on the treadmill of the hustle. They believe that if they just want it hard enough, if they just grind long enough, the universe will finally give in. But the universe has nothing to give. It can only reflect. You do not get what you want. You get what you are. If you are a wanter, you will forever be in a state of wanting. To manifest your desired reality tonight, you must stop wanting and start being. You must collapse the distance between yourself and your desire by assuming the feeling that would be yours if your desire were already a realized fact. Look at your professional standing today. You see a certain job title, a certain salary, and a certain level of influence. You believe these things define you. But these things are merely the shadows of who you were being yesterday. Your true identity is not your current position. Your true identity is the state of consciousness you are currently occupying. If you see yourself as a person who is seeking a break or waiting for a promotion, you are identifying with the state of lack. You are telling your internal I am that you are a seeker, not a possessor. Consequently, the world will always keep the promotion just out of reach. It will always provide you with another gatekeeper to impress, another hoop to jump through. To break this cycle, you must have the audacity to claim the title now. You must feel the authority of the position in your bones before the company ever offers it to you. You must feel the weight of the wealth in your soul before the bank ever records it. This is the shift that the masses will never understand. They wait for the physical world to give them permission to feel successful. The master gives himself permission, and the physical world eventually catches up. The 21st century angst is born from the belief that you are separate from your goals. You view your $1,000,000 bank account as something out there that you must travel toward. But in the four-dimensional reality of the imagination, there is no out there. Everything you could ever desire is already existing as a state of being within you. You don't travel to wealth, you occupy it. You don't work for a better career. You assume the consciousness of the person who has that career, and then your body is moved to take the necessary actions. This is why 99% of people fail. They try to change the reflection in the mirror by force. They change their resume, they change their city, they change their networking strategy, but they never change the man who is doing the changing. They are still vibrating at the frequency of, I need this to happen. This need is a repellent. It is a signal of desperation that the subconscious interprets as a command to keep the desire distant. To create effortlessly, you must reach the point of psychological indifference. You must feel so secure in the having of your desire that you no longer want it. The want has been satisfied by the internal feeling of possession. Tonight, as you prepare to enter the silence, you must be brutal with yourself. You must strip away the identity of the person who is struggling or trying. These are false names that you have accepted from a world that loves to keep you small. You must realize that your bank account is not a measure of your worth, but a measure of your past assumptions. It is a dead thing. Why do you look for life among the dead? Turn your back on the facts of your current job and your current income. Go within and define exactly who you want to be, not as a future hope, but as a present, visceral reality. Feel the tone of that new life. What does it feel like to have no debts? What does it feel like to be the top performer in your industry? Stay in that feeling until it feels natural, until it feels like the only truth. This is the moment of conception, when the feeling of I am successful becomes more real to you than the feeling of I am trying. The manifestation is finished in the only realm that matters. The world of Caesar will rearrange itself to match your new state with a speed and a precision that will terrify your rational mind. You do not need to force the world. You only need to be the person the world must reflect. Sleep is the door through which the conscious, wakeful mind passes to be creatively joined to the subconscious. Sleep conceals the creative act, while the objective world reveals it. In sleep, man impresses the subconscious with his conception of himself. These words were etched into the eternal record by Neville Goddard in his 1944 treatise, Feeling is the Secret. You are squandering the most potent creative opportunity of your existence every single night. You live in a world of 2026 that has weaponized your attention, ensuring that the final moments before you drift into the abyss of sleep are filled with the blue light of a screen and the toxic digital residue of other people's lives. You scroll through headlines of economic collapse, you respond to emails that trigger a sense of professional inadequacy, and you stare at social feeds that reinforce your own perceived lack. In doing so, you are performing a ritual of self-sabotage. You are leading your conscious mind, the generator of ideas, into a marriage with the subconscious while carrying the baggage of a beggar. You wonder why your bank account remains stagnant and your job feels like a prison. Yet you spent the 8 hours of your sleep cycle marinating in the feeling of being not enough. The 99% fail because they do not understand that sleep is not a biological necessity for the body, but a psychological necessity for the Creator. It is the moment when the I Am is naked, stripped of the distractions of the 3D world, and ready to receive the seed of a new reality. If you fall asleep with the feeling of your problems, you are commanding the subconscious to produce more problems. You are using the door of sleep to exit one day of struggle only to enter another that is its exact replica. The angst of the modern professional is a direct result of this ignorance. You believe that your work begins when you clock in at 9 in the morning, but the true work, the only work that dictates your salary and your status, is performed in the silence of your bedroom at midnight. When you lie down, the conscious mind begins to withdraw, and the subconscious mind opens its womb. This is the state akin to sleep that Neville Goddard lectured about with such urgency. It is a state of controlled reverie where you are no longer a victim of the physical world. If you want to change your financial reality tonight, you must have the discipline to shut out the year 2026. You must put down the phone. You must ignore the notification of the unpaid bill. You must close your eyes and, with the intensity of a master, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You do not think about being wealthy. You feel the naturalness of being wealthy. You do not hope for a promotion. You feel the relief of already having the authority. You must stay in this feeling until it saturates your entire being, until you can no longer tell the difference between the imagined state and the physical bed. When you fall asleep in this conviction, the marriage is successful. The subconscious accepts the impression of success as a fact, and because it is the womb of creation, it is compelled by its own nature to bring that success into form. 99% of men are too lazy to perform this mental labor. They find it easier to work 12 hours a day in a job they hate than to spend 5 minutes in the silence truly convincing themselves that they are already what they want to be. They prefer the hustle because it allows them to remain a victim of external circumstances. But you must realize that there is no external circumstance. There is only the outpicturing of your internal state. If you feel like a struggling worker as you drift into sleep, the subconscious will reorganize the world of 2026 to ensure you remain a struggling worker. It will cloud your judgment, it will make you miss the right connections, and it will attract bad luck to justify your feeling. To create effortlessly, you must become a guardian of the portal of sleep. You must refuse to take any negative thought or any feeling of lack into the subconscious. This is the radical pruning of the mind. You must be able to look at a stagnant bank balance and say, "This is not me. I am the one who is abundantly supplied," and then feel the visceral truth of that statement until you drift off. By doing this, you are literally rewriting the script of your life while you sleep. You wake up not as the person who is trying to get ahead, but as the person who is already there. The world of Caesar has no choice but to bow to the authority of the impression made in the silence. Prayer is an illusion of the mind if it is not a feeling of the wish fulfilled. To be successful, prayer must be a state of being, not a begging for a favor. It is the art of yielding to the wish and not the forcing of the wish. Neville Goddard, Feeling is the Secret, 1944. You are a beggar disguised as a spiritual seeker, and this is why your manifestations remain as distant ghosts. You have been conditioned to think that prayer is a plea to a distant, capricious deity who might, if you are good enough or hard-working enough, grant you a reprieve from your professional misery. You ask for more money, you pray for a better job, and in every word of your request, you are shouting to the universe that you do not have what you desire. You are anchoring yourself in the consciousness of poverty. This is the fundamental error of the 99%. They believe that the intensity of their wanting is what moves the creative power. But the subconscious is not moved by desire. It is moved by acceptance. In the 2026 landscape of desperate competition and AI-driven anxiety, you think that you must force your way into success through sheer willpower. But force always creates resistance. The more you try to force a manifestation through a begging prayer, the more the subconscious reflects your state of not having. To pray effectively is to perform a psychological act of possession. It is the art of closing your eyes to the physical lack and assuming the feeling of being and having that which you want. True prayer is a mechanical necessity, not a religious ritual. It is the deliberate displacement of a current reality with a desired one. When you yield to the wish, as Goddard taught in his New York lectures, you are not asking for a favor. You are assuming a new identity. You must reach a point where you no longer want the money, because the internal feeling of having it is so profound that the desire is satisfied. This is the secret of the masters. They don't look for things. They occupy the state of being the person who already has them. If you are struggling to make ends meet in this modern economy, your prayer should not be, "Please give me more money." Your prayer should be the wordless, visceral feeling of security. It is the sensation of a deep, calm breath that signifies all is well. You must stay in that sensation until it becomes your dominant mood. When that feeling becomes natural, the subconscious accepts it as a fact. It then goes to work, utilizing ways and means you cannot possibly imagine, to bring your physical bank account into alignment with your internal state. You do not need to know the how. The how is the business of the subconscious. Your only business is the what and the feeling of its presence. The reason most fail is that they return to their old feeling of lack the moment they open their eyes. They pray for 5 minutes and then spend the next 15 hours complaining about their boss, worrying about inflation, and checking their bank balance with a heart full of dread. They are undoing their work with every breath. To manifest in 2026, you must live in the state of the wish fulfilled, even when the physical world is screaming the opposite. This is the true meaning of faith. Faith is not a blind belief in a religious dogma. It is the persistence in the feeling of being what you want to be. It is the refusal to let a screen or a digital notification dictate your internal "I am." You must be so saturated with the feeling of your success that a professional rejection feels like a strange error in the matrix rather than a personal failure. You do not react to the world. You act from the internal state. This is how you stop the forcing and start the being. When your prayer becomes a state of constant, quiet assumption, the world of Caesar is forced to reorganize itself around your new center. You will find that opportunities appear out of nowhere, and the very people who ignored you suddenly become the instruments of your expansion. You did not beg for this. You assumed it. To attempt to change circumstances before you change your imaginal activity is to struggle against the very nature of things. There can be no outer change until there is first an inner change. These words were spoken by Neville Goddard during his 1948 series in Los Angeles. You are a prisoner of the hustle, believing that the solution to your stagnant career and your dwindling bank account is more action, more networking, and more struggle. You are like a man trying to change the image in a mirror by painting over the glass. You can exert all the physical force in the world. You can work yourself to the point of exhaustion in the year 2026, but as long as your internal self-concept remains that of a struggler, your reality will continue to reflect struggle. This is why 99% of people fail. They believe that doing is the cause and having is the effect. But in the true law of the universe, being is the cause, and doing is merely the shadow cast by your state of consciousness. You are trying to force the shadow to move without moving the object. This is a violent act against the nature of reality. To manifest your desired life tonight, you must stop the external war. You must realize that there is no one to change but self, and that self is simply your awareness and the feeling you attach to it. If you want a different job, you must first become, in your own imagination, the person who is already employed in that role. If you want more money, you must first inhabit the state of a person who is abundantly supplied. The angst of the 21st century professional is the angst of someone who thinks they are a victim of a competitive machine. You look at the rise of AI, the volatility of the markets, and the shrinking job opportunities, and you feel a sense of powerlessness. You believe that your survival depends on your ability to outwork the other. But there is no other. There is only you and your assumptions. When you change your internal imaginal activity, you are changing the very fabric of your world. If you spend your time imagining yourself as a master of your craft, if you feel the respect of your peers and the security of your finances, you are literally commanding the universe to rearrange itself. This is not a metaphor. It is a mechanical law. Your imagination is the only reality, and the world of 2026 is merely the screen upon which your imaginal activity is projected. If you don't like the movie, you don't scream at the screen. You go into the projector room and change the film. The projector room is your own mind. The film is your feeling of who you are. 99% fail because they are too attached to the facts. They say, "How can I feel wealthy when my bank balance is zero?" Or, "How can I feel successful when I was just laid off?" They believe their senses are telling them the truth. But your senses are only telling you about the past. They are reporting the results of your previous state of consciousness. If you allow the past to dictate your present feeling, you are ensuring that your future will be a perfect replica of your past. To shift your reality tonight, you must have the discipline to look at a zero balance and feel the "I am" of abundance. You must be able to stand in the middle of a career crisis and feel the "I am" of success. This is the secret that separates the master from the masses. The master knows that the feeling is the only substance. If he can maintain the feeling of his wish fulfilled, the physical world must, by law, produce the evidence. You do not need to hustle to make the money appear. You only need to be the person who attracts it. When you change your internal state, you will find yourself taking actions that feel effortless. You will be in the right place at the right time. You will speak the right words, not because you forced it, but because you became the person for whom those actions are natural. Stop fighting the mirror. Change your state. It is done. If you do not feel natural about what you want to be, you will not be it. To attempt to change the world before you change your concept of yourself is to struggle against the nature of things. The unequivocal truth delivered by Neville Goddard in his 1952 book, The Power of Awareness. You are a prisoner of your own artificiality. You sit in your room surrounded by the digital noise of the year 2026, and you try to practice manifestation as if it were a parlor trick. You set aside 15 minutes to visualize yourself as a successful entrepreneur, a respected executive, or a person of immense wealth. But the moment those 15 minutes are over, you exhale, drop your shoulders, and return to the comfortable, familiar feeling of being a struggler. You return to worrying about your bills, complaining about your colleagues, and fearing the economy. You believe you have done the work, but you have done nothing but reinforce your own duality. The subconscious mind, the womb of creation, is not impressed by your 15-minute performances. It is impressed by your dominant state of being. It is impressed by what feels natural to you. If being wealthy feels like a miracle or an event rather than a boring, mundane fact of your existence, then you are not wealthy. You are merely a poor man fantasizing about wealth. And the universe, acting as a faithful mirror, will continue to provide you with the reality of a poor man's fantasy, the wanting of wealth without the having of it. This is the exact reason 99% of people fail. They treat their desires as guests rather than residents. They want the rush, the excitement, and the dopamine hit of the manifestation. But true possession is not exciting. It is natural. Do you feel a rush of adrenaline when you remember your own name? Do you feel a spike of excitement when you realize you have shoes on your feet? No, because these things are natural to you. They are assumed facts of your reality. To manifest your desired reality tonight, you must reach that exact level of psychological indifference regarding your goal. You must look at the idea of a 6-figure bank balance and feel absolutely nothing special about it. It must become as natural to you as the breath in your lungs. If your heart races when you think about your goal, you are signaling to the subconscious that the goal is outside of you. You are affirming its distance. The 21st century professional is constantly trying to get ahead, trying to be recognized, trying to force the world to notice them. All this trying is a confession of lack. Effort is the hallmark of the ego. Naturalness is the hallmark of the master. To struggle against your circumstances without changing your internal concept is to engage in a war you cannot win. You think your stagnant career is the result of a bad boss or a tough market. You are wrong. Your career is stagnant because your concept of yourself is stagnant. You see yourself as an employee who must earn their keep through sweat and anxiety. As long as you hold this concept, the world has no choice but to provide you with a reality that requires sweat and anxiety. If you want to change the reflection, you must change the face in front of the mirror. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, you must perform a radical act of self-redefinition. You must abandon the identity of the person who is trying to make it. You must assume the identity of the person who has already made it. And you must do this until it feels completely normal. Don't look for fireworks. Look for the quiet, unshakable peace of knowing that the work is done. The moment the feeling of your desire becomes natural to you, the manifestation is complete in the only realm that matters. The physical world will then rearrange itself, often through a series of seemingly natural events, to match your new state. Stop performing. Start being. When the will and the imagination are in conflict, the imagination invariably wins. This mechanical law, originally formulated by Émile Coué, was frequently emphasized by Neville Goddard to explain the futility of effort. You are exhausting yourself in a battle you have already lost. You wake up every morning and deploy your willpower against the world of 2026. You force yourself to work longer hours. You force yourself to send one more email. You force yourself to attend networking events you despise, all in the desperate hope that your sheer effort will finally break through the barrier of your stagnant reality. You grit your teeth and declare, "I will be successful." But underneath that declaration of will, what is your imagination doing? Your imagination is vividly picturing the possibility of failure. Your imagination is feeling the anxiety of the unpaid bills. Your imagination is replaying the memory of your past rejections. And because the subconscious mind only responds to the feeling of the imagination, your willpower is completely useless. You are like a man trying to steer a ship by pushing against the mast while the rudder is locked in the opposite direction. The 99% fail because they worship the idol of willpower and ignore the supreme authority of the imagination. They believe that if they just hustle hard enough, they can overcome their internal fears. They cannot. The imagination always wins. The 21st century has turned you into a disciple of force. You've been taught that success is a matter of discipline, grind, and pushing through resistance. This is the doctrine of the unawakened mind. When you use willpower to achieve a goal, you are implicitly confirming that the goal is difficult to achieve. You are confirming that there is an obstacle. And the subconscious, receiving this impression of difficulty and obstacle, faithfully produces more of both in your physical world. This is why your efforts feel like pushing a boulder up a hill. To manifest effortlessly, you must surrender the will and align the imagination. You must stop trying to force the money to come and start feeling the reality of the money already being there. If you can imagine the feeling of the wish fulfilled with enough intensity that it feels real, no willpower is required. You will find yourself taking the necessary actions, making the right call, finishing the project, speaking to the right person, not because you forced yourself to do it, but because it feels like the natural, inevitable next step. The action becomes inspired, not forced. It feels like play, not work. Look at your relationship with money today. You probably use your willpower to stick to a budget, to save a few pennies, and to resist spending. You call this being responsible. But what is your imagination doing while you exercise this will? It is terrified of running out. It is feeling the restriction of poverty. The will says, save, but the imagination feels lack. And because the imagination always wins, your financial reality remains one of constant restriction. To break this cycle, you must stop fighting the mirror. You must go into the silence of your own mind and change the imaginal act. Instead of using your will to fight poverty, use your imagination to feel wealth. Close your eyes and feel the profound relief of knowing that all your financial obligations are met forever. Feel the freedom that comes with abundance. Do not try to figure out how it will happen. The how is the domain of the will, and it is a trap. The what is the domain of the imagination. Assume the feeling of the what, and the subconscious will handle the how through avenues you cannot even conceive. Stop struggling against the nature of things. Drop the will. Claim the feeling. Watch the world bow. Sensation precedes manifestation and is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world. The stark warning delivered by Neville Goddard in his 1944 work, Feeling is the Secret. You are bleeding your life force into a digital void, and you call it staying informed. In the hyper-connected year of 2026, you believe that your moods are merely reactions to the objective facts of the world. You read a headline about economic downturn, and you feel anxiety. You see a colleague promoted instead of you, and you feel resentment. You look at your bank balance, and you feel despair. You think these feelings are the result of your reality, but the mystic reveals a terrifying truth. These feelings are the cause of your reality. There is no such thing as an objective fact that exists independent of your consciousness. The world is a dead mirror, and it can only reflect the sensation you hold within. The 99% fail because they allow the world to dictate their sensation. They are reactive creatures, bouncing from one emotional trigger to another, completely unaware that with every reaction, they are commanding their subconscious to build a future that perfectly matches their current misery. If you want to stop failing, you must stop reacting. You must become the sole dictator of your internal sensation. To say that sensation precedes manifestation is to state a mechanical law of the universe. The feeling you carry right now, the quiet underlying mood that colors your day, is the blueprint from which your tomorrow is constructed. If your dominant sensation is one of struggle, the universe must provide you with a job that drains you, clients who argue with you, and bills that overwhelm you. It is not punishing you. It is obeying you. You have established an unbroken connection between your internal tension and your visible reality. The angst of the modern professional is that they try to change the visible world without changing the sensation. They negotiate for a raise while feeling undervalued. They launch a business while feeling terrified of failure. The action is right, but the sensation is wrong. And because sensation is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests, the action is doomed to fail. You cannot build a mansion of wealth on a foundation of poverty consciousness. The structure will collapse under the weight of its own contradiction. To shift your reality tonight, you must perform a radical excavation of your internal state. You must find the sensation of the wish fulfilled and make it your only home. How do you establish this new sensation? You do not do it by arguing with the facts of 2026. If your bank account is empty, you do not try to think positive about the zero. You turn your back on the zero. You close your physical eyes and you go within to the fourth dimensional reality where all things are finished. You ask yourself, what would the sensation be like if I were already the person I want to be? Capture that sensation. It is not an explosive joy. It is usually a deep, profound relief. It is the feeling of a long sigh after a hard task is completed. Once you capture that sensation, you must guard it with your life. You must refuse to let a notification, an email, or a rude comment pull you out of it. This is the secret that the masses refuse to practice. They find it too difficult to maintain a feeling of wealth when the physical world shows lack. They prefer the easy path of reaction. But the master knows that the physical world is just a delayed shadow. He does not care what the shadow says. He cares only about the light of his own sensation. Tonight, assume the sensation of your desired reality. Fall asleep in the absolute conviction that it is done. The visible world will have no choice but to catch up to the feeling you have decreed. To impress the subconscious with the desirable state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. In defining your objective, you must be concerned only with the objective itself. The manner of expression or the difficulties involved are not to be considered by you. The unwavering instruction of Neville Goddard, recorded in Feeling is the Secret, 1944. You are obsessed with the how. In the year 2026, you worship at the altar of strategy, data, and logic. You believe that if you want a promotion, you must map out a 5-step plan, navigate office politics, and outmaneuver your rivals. You believe that if you want to increase your wealth, you must analyze market trends, find the perfect side hustle, and optimize your schedule to the minute. You are entirely consumed by the mechanics of the three-dimensional world, completely blind to the fact that every mechanical action you take is dictated by an unseen internal state. When you obsess over the how, you are confessing to the universe that you do not yet have the what. You are living in a state of calculation, and calculation is the language of the conscious mind, not the subconscious. The subconscious, the actual engine of reality, does not need your pathetic strategies. It possesses a wisdom and a reach that your rational mind cannot even begin to fathom. When you try to dictate the manner of expression to the subconscious, you are interfering with the master builder. You are trying to tell the architect of the cosmos how to lay a brick. This arrogance is the exact reason 99% of people remain trapped in their stagnant careers and their frustrating financial loops. The modern professional believes that being concerned only with the objective itself is irresponsible. You call it daydreaming. You demand realism. But your realism is nothing more than a slavish devotion to your current limitations. If you look at your bank account today and say, "It is impossible for me to double my income this year because the economy is bad," you have just used your conscious mind to issue a decree of limitation. And the subconscious, completely impartial and terrifyingly obedient, will ensure that you do not double your income. It will blind you to opportunities, it will make you hesitate at crucial moments, and it will ensure that the bad economy becomes your personal reality. To break free from this self-imposed prison, you must abandon the how. You must have the terrifying courage to define your objective, be it a specific salary, a specific title, or a specific level of freedom. and then completely detach yourself from the means of its fulfillment. Your only job is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. How would you walk into your office tomorrow if you were already the CEO? How would you handle your credit card today if you had $10 million in the bank? You must find that specific feeling of relief and authority, and you must wear it like a second skin. This is the point of failure for the masses. They cannot sustain the feeling of the wish fulfilled because they are constantly interrupted by the facts of the world. They feel wealthy for 10 minutes, and then they receive an unexpected bill, and immediately they fall back into the feeling of panic. They allow a piece of paper or a digital notification to rob them of their assumption. Neville Goddard demanded a discipline that the 21st century finds almost impossible. The discipline to ignore the evidence of the senses. If your senses tell you that you are poor, your senses are reporting the past. They are reporting the results of your previous assumptions. You must be willing to turn your back on the past and live entirely in the feeling of the assumed future. When you do this, the difficulties involved melt away. The subconscious mind, impressed with the feeling of success, will orchestrate a bridge of incidents, a series of events that will seem perfectly natural, perhaps even coincidental, that will lead you inevitably to your goal. You will find yourself saying the right thing to the right person at the right time, without any conscious calculation. The struggle ends the moment you surrender the how and fully occupy the feeling of the end. Tonight, you must make a choice. Will you continue to act as the frustrated architect, trying to force the world to bend to your limited strategies? Or will you become the sovereign creator, impressing the womb of creation with the feeling of your ultimate triumph? If you choose the latter, you must leave all your anxieties about the economy, your boss, and your debts outside the door of your bedroom. As you lie down, define your objective clearly. Do not think about the steps required to get there. Think only of the end, and then breathe into the feeling of that end. Feel the weight of it. Feel the reality of it. Let the feeling of your success become so natural, so boringly normal, that you fall asleep in it. Do not wake up tomorrow looking for signs that it worked. The signs follow. They do not precede. Walk through the world of 2026 with the secret knowledge that the work is already done. When you stop worrying about the how, the universe will astound you with the now. The subconscious does not originate ideas, but accepts as true those which the conscious mind feels to be true, and, in a way known only to itself, objectifies the accepted ideas. The profound mechanical truth revealed by Neville Goddard in his seminal 1944 text, "Feeling is the Secret." You are a victim of your own acceptance. In the hyper-stimulated reality of 2026, you believe you are a critical thinker, analyzing data, reading the news, and forming rational opinions about your career and the economy. You believe you are choosing your thoughts. You are not. You are simply accepting the dominant frequencies of a terrified world. When you hear that the job market is shrinking, you do not just hear it, you feel the truth of it. You accept the fear. When you look at the rising cost of living, you do not just observe it, you feel the restriction of it. You accept the lack. And because the subconscious mind does not originate ideas, but only objectifies what you feel to be true, your life becomes a perfect, terrifying replica of the evening news. You are literally manifesting the worst-case scenarios of the 21st century because you have allowed your conscious mind to be hijacked by the external world, and you have impressed your subconscious with the feeling of impending doom. You wonder why your personal economy is failing? It is failing because you have accepted the idea of failure as a truth, and your subconscious is merely doing its job by making that truth visible in your bank account. The 99% fail because they do not understand the role of the conscious mind. The conscious mind is not meant to be a sponge, soaking up every piece of garbage the world throws at it. It is meant to be the watchman at the gate. Its sole purpose is to select the ideas that are worthy of being passed down to the subconscious. But you have fallen asleep at your post. You allow your coworkers to complain about the company, and you join in, impressing your subconscious with the feeling of resentment. You allow the digital algorithms to feed you stories of economic collapse, and you scroll through them, impressing your subconscious with the feeling of poverty. To stop forcing reality and start creating it, you must wake up the watchman. You must become ruthless in what you accept as true. If an idea does not serve your ultimate vision of success and wealth, you must reject it instantly. You must refuse to give it the heat of your feeling. This is not ignorance of the world. This is the mastery of it. The mystic knows that the facts of 2026 are just the shadows of collective assumptions. Why should you let the shadows of other men dictate the reality of your life? To impress the subconscious with a new reality, you must bypass the noise of the world and deliberately choose a new idea. You must choose the idea of abundance, and you must feel it to be true, even when the shadow world screams that it is false. This is the act of faith that changes destiny. If you want a specific career trajectory, you must consciously select the idea that you are already on that path. You must look at your current, perhaps lowly, position and say, "This is merely a temporary shadow. The truth is that I am a leader in my field." And you must feel that truth. The subconscious does not care if the conscious mind is lying according to the standards of the 3D world. It only cares about the feeling of conviction. If you can convince yourself through the discipline of feeling that you are wealthy, the subconscious will accept that idea as a fact. And then, in a way known only to itself, it will objectify that wealth. It will move people, circumstances, and events to bring the physical world into alignment with your internal assumption. It will not require your hustle. It will not require your exhaustion. It will only require your steadfast refusal to accept anything less than your desired reality as the truth. Tonight, assume your rightful place as the sovereign of your mind. Do not let the anxieties of the day cross the threshold of your sleep. As you lie in bed, review the ideas you have accepted today. Have you accepted the idea of lack? Have you accepted the idea of limitation? Banish them. They are intruders. Call forth the idea of your ultimate success. What does it feel like to have a bank account that overflows? What does it feel like to walk into a room and command absolute professional respect? Do not just think about these ideas, feel them. Breathe them in. Let the feeling of their truth saturate your entire being until the physical room fades away and the internal reality is all that remains. When you fall asleep in that state of acceptance, the subconscious goes to work. It takes the blueprint you have provided and begins to build your new world. The 99% will wake up tomorrow and continue to fight the shadows. You will wake up and watch the shadows arrange themselves around the light of your new assumption. You can never command things to appear by your words or loud affirmations. Such vain repetition is more often than not confirmation of the opposite. Decreeing is ever done in consciousness. That is, every man is conscious of being that which he has decreed himself to be. The profound distinction made by Neville Goddard in his 1939 work, "Your faith is your fortune." You are shouting into the void, hoping the echo will change your life. In the year 2026, the spiritual marketplace is flooded with the noise of affirmations. You are told to stand in front of a mirror and shout, "I am a millionaire," or to write down, "I am successful" 50 times a day in a journal. You do this with a desperate, frantic energy, believing that the sheer volume of your words will somehow bully the universe into submission. This is the ultimate folly of the unawakened mind. When you shout an affirmation from a place of desperation, you are not decreeing success. You are confirming your underlying feeling of failure. The louder you scream, "I am wealthy," the more your internal state whispers, I am broke and I am terrified. The subconscious mind, the true architect of your reality, is completely deaf to your loud words. It only listens to the silent, visceral feeling that prompted the words. The 99% fail because they try to use language as a crowbar to pry open the doors of success, completely ignoring the fact that the door only responds to the frequency of their consciousness. If your consciousness is tuned to poverty, 1,000 affirmations of wealth will only result in 1,000 more reasons to feel poor. To decree a thing is not to speak it with your mouth, but to occupy it with your awareness. When Goddard says that decreeing is ever done in consciousness, he means that your life right now is the exact result of what you are silently conscious of being. Look at your professional life today. You did not stand in front of a mirror and affirm, I want to be overlooked for promotions and underpaid for my labor. You did not chant that into existence, but you are conscious of being a person who must struggle. You feel the reality of being a subordinate in a massive corporate machine. That silent, unspoken feeling is the true decree, and the universe has faithfully executed it. The modern professional is trapped in a cycle of trying to fix their life through external action while maintaining the internal consciousness of a victim. They buy the latest course on networking, they optimize their LinkedIn profile, they hustle for 16 hours a day, but they do it all from the consciousness of someone who is trying to escape their current situation. Because their consciousness is anchored in escaping, the universe provides them with a continuous reality that they must constantly try to escape from. The struggle never ends because the consciousness never changes. To shift your reality, you must abandon the vain repetitions and enter the silence of your own being. You must realize that true power is not loud, it is absolute stillness. If you want a specific bank balance, stop talking about it. Stop affirming it with a tight jaw and a racing heart. Go within and change the fundamental feeling of who you are. What is the consciousness of a person who already has that money? It is a consciousness of profound security. It is a feeling of quiet boredom regarding financial matters. It is the absence of panic when a bill arrives. You must assume this consciousness. You must feel it so deeply that the need to affirm it disappears. The wealthy man does not walk around chanting, I am wealthy, because he is entirely conscious of being wealthy. It is a mundane fact of his existence. If you want to manifest effortlessly, you must reach that level of psychological mundanity regarding your goal. You must wear the state of success so naturally that it ceases to be a goal and simply becomes you. Tonight, as the noise of 2026 fades and you are left alone in the darkness, do not bring your affirmations to the altar of sleep. Bring only your altered consciousness. Do not ask for success. Assume the feeling of already being successful. Let the feeling wash over you, calming your nervous system, erasing the anxieties of the day. Feel the solid, undeniable truth that you are the master of your reality. You do not need to command the world to change. You only need to command yourself to be the person who lives in the changed world. When you fall asleep in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled, you have issued the ultimate decree. The subconscious mind will receive this silent command and begin the mechanical process of objectification. You will wake up tomorrow not as someone who is trying to manifest, but as the creator who has already finished the work. The physical world will have no choice but to conform to the decree issued in the silence of your own soul. The struggle is over. The state is yours. Your faith in God is measured by your confidence in yourself. For your I am is God. This was the cornerstone of Neville Goddard's 1948 instruction, recorded in his lecture, The Search. You are a beggar standing at the gates of your own kingdom. In the year 2026, you have been systematically programmed to look for power in everything except yourself. You look at the economy, you look at the federal interest rates, you look at the shifting trends of digital algorithms, and you believe these are the masters of your fate. You think that your bank account is at the mercy of a market, and that your professional trajectory is at the mercy of a boss. This is the ultimate lie of the human experience. When you say, "I am," you are not just announcing your presence. You are declaring the presence of the only creative power in the universe. If you have no confidence in your ability to manifest wealth or success, it is because you have no confidence in God. For God is your own awareness of being. The 99% fail because they pray to an external shadow, begging for a favor from a reflection in a mirror. They try to manifest money while internally feeling like a victim of a competitive world. They are double-minded, and a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. To shift your reality tonight, you must reclaim your divinity. You must realize that there is no one to change but self, and that self is the I am that precedes all job titles, all bank balances, and all social statuses. Look at the angst of the modern worker. You are constantly upskilling, constantly networking, and constantly hustling because you believe your value is something that must be proven to the world. You think your value is a product of your labor. This is the logic of the slave. Your value is a product of your consciousness. If you internally assume the state of a master, if you feel the authority of success in your very bones, the world of 2026 will have no choice but to recognize you. It will not be because you earned it through physical effort, but because you decreed it in consciousness. The how of your rise is none of your business. The subconscious mind, once impressed with the feeling of your absolute professional sovereignty, will utilize every digital tool, every social connection, and every economic shift to bring your state into physical form. You do not need to fight for a seat at the table. You must realize that you are the table. The confidence that the world demands from you is merely the reflection of the confidence you have in your own internal I am. When you stop looking for validation from a screen and start finding it in the silence of your own heart, the external world will begin to follow you like a shadow follows the man. Why do you find it so difficult to trust your own consciousness? It is because you are addicted to the hard facts of your current struggle. You look at your debt and you say, "This is real." You look at your lack of recognition and you say, "This is real." By doing so, you are worshiping false gods. You are giving your divine creative energy to things that do not exist except as past assumptions. To create effortlessly, you must have the radical discipline to call non-existent things as though they were. You must look at your empty bank account and see it overflowing. You must look at your stagnant career and see it flourishing. This is not hope. This is the exercise of your divine right. If you truly understood that your imagination is the only reality, you would never allow a single thought of lack or failure to dwell in your mind. You would guard your internal feeling with more intensity than you guard your physical property. The 99% fail because they are realistic. They would rather be right about their poverty than wrong about their wealth. They would rather point to the data of their failure than assume the feeling of a success they cannot yet see. But the data is just a report of where your attention used to be. It is a dead thing. Why do you look for life among the dead? Tonight, as you prepare to enter the womb of creation through sleep, you must perform a total, radical surrender. You must strip away the identity of the person who is trying to get ahead. That person is a ghost. That person is the source of all your friction and all your fatigue. In the silence of your own mind, assume the feeling of being the person you have always dreamed of being. Do not think about it. Feel the naturalness of it. Feel the weight of the gold in your hand. Feel the satisfaction of the job well done. Feel the profound peace of having no debts and no enemies. This is the only decree that matters. Your bank account is not a measure of your worth, but a measure of your past feelings. Your career is not a measure of your talent, but a measure of your past self-concept. If you want a new measure, you must provide a new feeling. The 2026 economy will rearrange itself to accommodate the man who knows who he is. Stop begging the mirror for a smile. Smile at the mirror and wait for the reflection to obey. You are the way, the truth, and the life. Your awareness is the only God. Stand in your power and claim your kingdom. It is done. To be effective, prayer must be a state of being, not a begging for a favor. It is the art of yielding to the wish and not the forcing of the wish. This fundamental mechanical law was articulated by Neville Goddard in his 1944 text, "Feeling is the Secret." You are a beggar disguised as a modern professional, and this is the root of your manifestation failure. In the high-velocity world of 2026, you have been conditioned to think that prayer is a plea to an external agency, a desperate negotiation with a fickle economy, or a hope that the market will finally favor your efforts. You ask for a raise, you pray for your business to survive, and in every syllable of your request, you're shouting to the subconscious mind that you do not have what you desire. You are anchoring yourself in the consciousness of poverty and lack. This is the tragic error of the 99%. They believe that the intensity of their wanting is the fuel of creation, but the subconscious is entirely indifferent to desire. It only responds to acceptance. When you want something, you are in a state of separation from it. You are confessing that it is over there while you are over here, struggling in the vacuum of its absence. To pray effectively, you must perform a radical psychological act of possession. You must stop the external noise of the 21st century and yield to the feeling that your wish is already a finished fact. You do not ask for the money. You inhabit the consciousness of the man who is already abundantly supplied. The angst of the current professional landscape is born from this habit of forcing. You think you must force your way through the digital competition, force the algorithm to notice your work, and force the world to give you a seat at the table. But force always creates resistance. The more you try to force a manifestation through a begging prayer or a frantic hustle, the more the subconscious reflects your underlying state of desperation. It is a mathematical certainty. To pray, in the sense that Neville taught, is to enter a state of profound yielding. It is the art of psychological surrender. You must reach a point in your imagination where the desire is satisfied by the feeling of its presence. If you are worried about your debts today, your prayer is not the word wealth. Your prayer is the visceral, calm, and heavy sensation of relief. It is the feeling of a long, deep breath that signifies a burden has been lifted forever. You must stay in that sensation until it becomes your only truth. When that relief becomes natural to you, the subconscious accepts it as the decree of your existence. It then utilizes ways and means you know not of to bring your physical bank account into alignment with your internal state. You do not need to know the path the money will take. You only need to occupy the destination. Why do most people fail to remain in this state? Because they return to the world of Caesar the moment they open their eyes. They pray for 5 minutes in the morning and then spend the next 16 hours complaining about the cost of living, checking their bank balance with a heart full of dread, and scrolling through digital feeds that trigger feelings of inadequacy. They are undoing their creative work with every breath. To manifest in 2026, you must live in the state of the wish fulfilled, even when the physical world is screaming the opposite. This is the true meaning of faith. Faith is not a blind belief in a religious dogma. It is the persistence in the feeling of being what you want to be. It is the refusal to let a screen, a number, or a headline dictate your internal "I am." You must be so saturated with the feeling of your professional success that a rejection letter or a stagnant week feels like a strange error in the reflection. not a personal failure. You do not react to the world. You act from the internal state. This is how you stop the forcing and start the being. When your prayer becomes a constant, quiet assumption, the physical world has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new center. You will find that opportunities appear as if by magic, but you will know it was the mechanical result of your yielded feeling. Your bank balance is not a cause. It is a report. Your current job is not a destination. It is a reflection. 99% of people fail because they treat the reflection as the cause. They wait for the mirror to smile before they allow themselves to feel happy. They wait for the deposit to arrive before they allow themselves to feel wealthy. They are trapped in a loop of reaction. To break the cycle, you must realize that you are the only cause in your world. Your I am, your awareness, and the feeling you attach to it, is the only God that exists. When you yield to the wish fulfilled, you are not asking for a favor from an external deity. You are commanding your own subconscious to objectify your state. Tonight, as you lie in the silence, do not beg. Do not bargain. Do not plan the how. Simply assume the dignity, the relief, and the power of being the person you have always dreamed of being. Let the feeling of success wash over you like a warm tide. Fall asleep in the quiet, boring, mundane naturalness of having all your desires met. By doing so, you have issued the ultimate decree. The 2026 economy will have no choice but to bow to the authority of the feeling you have claimed in the dark. The struggle is over. The work is finished. It is done. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. If you would change your world, you must first change your feeling. Therefore, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and stay there until it becomes your natural state of being. The final radical commandment of Neville Goddard, summarized in his 1944 work, Feeling is the Secret. You have been looking for the exit in all the wrong places. You have looked for it in new strategies, in higher education, in better networking, and in the relentless pursuit of digital trends. But the only exit from your current state of professional stagnation and financial anxiety is a change of feeling. There is no other door. In the year 2026, you are surrounded by the illusion of doing. You are told that your destiny is something you must build through a sequence of external actions. But the mystic tells you that your destiny is something you must assume through a sequence of internal feelings. If you do not like the path you are on, you cannot change it by walking faster. You can only change it by becoming a different person in your imagination. The 99% fail because they are lookers and not havers. They look at the life they want, they look at the wealth they desire, and they look at the success they crave, but they never occupy them. They remain outside in the cold feeling of wanting. They die in the wilderness of their own desires because they refuse to cross the Jordan of their own assumptions. To manifest your desired reality tonight, you must stop looking at it and start looking from it. The 21st century is a landscape of temporary shadows, but you have mistaken them for solid walls. You think your debt is a wall. You think your age is a wall. You think the current job market is a wall. These are not walls. They are the reports of your past feelings. When you change your feeling today, you are literally dissolving the walls of tomorrow. If you can assume the feeling of absolute financial freedom right now, despite the numbers on your screen, you have initiated a process that the physical world cannot stop. It may take time for the shadow to catch up. There is always a time lag in the world of Caesar, but the result is guaranteed. Your only job is to stay in the state. Do not look back at the old reality. Do not check to see if it is working. The moment you check, you have stepped out of the feeling of having and back into the feeling of seeking. The 99% are perpetual checkers. They assume the feeling of wealth for a moment, and then they look at their bank account and say, "It's not there yet." By doing so, they have issued a new decree of not having, and the subconscious faithfully executes it. You must have the violent discipline to ignore the facts until the facts change to match your assumption. This is the end of your long exile in the world of effort. You are not a creature of the earth. You are a creature of consciousness. Your bank balance, your job title, and your professional reputation are merely the garments your consciousness is currently wearing. If you don't like the garment, take it off. Change the feeling of who you are. Assume the feeling of the I am that is already everything you want to be. In 2026, where everyone is screaming for your attention and trying to sell you a new how-to guide, the only truth you need is this. The feeling is the secret. It is the only secret. It is the power that moves mountains and the law that reorganizes economies. When you reach the point where your desired state feels more natural to you than your current problem, you have won. The physical world will then arrange itself in ways you could never have planned through a series of lucky encounters and perfect opportunities that lead you to your goal. You will not have to force anything. You will simply walk into your new life as if you were walking into a room you had already prepared. Tonight, as the digital noise of the world fades into the silence of the night, realize that you are standing at the threshold of your own power. You are the dreamer who has finally realized he is dreaming. The dream of failure, the dream of lack, and the dream of being not enough are all your own creations. You can wake up to a new dream whenever you choose. The portal is your feeling. As you drift into sleep, do not review your grievances. Do not count your debts. Do not plan your hustle for tomorrow. Simply assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel the security. Feel the respect. Feel the abundance. Stay in that feeling until it saturates your subconscious mind. Let it be the last thing you think and the only thing you feel. When you wake up, do not look for signs. Walk through the world with the quiet, unshakable dignity of the person you claim to be in the dark. The world of 2026 will eventually reflect the light of your internal shift. The struggle is over. The secret is yours. It is done. The Sabbath is not a day of the week. It is a state of mind. It is the rest from the labor of creating. When you have successfully impressed your subconscious mind with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you enter the Sabbath. You no longer labor to make it so, because you know it is already done. Neville Goddard, The 1948 Lessons. You are exhausted because you do not know how to stop. In the relentless, high-speed machinery of 2026, you have been taught that if you are not pushing, you are losing. You have been conditioned to believe that the manifestation of your wealth and the advancement of your career require a continuous, agonizing output of physical and mental energy. You believe that even after you have prayed or visualized, you must still go out into the world and help the universe bring your desire to fruition. This is the final, fatal error of the 99%. They plant the seed in the womb of the subconscious, but then they immediately pull it up to see if it is growing. They assume the feeling of abundance for a moment, but then they allow the next notification on their phone, the next report of a stagnant market or a rising bill, to pull them back into the state of trying. They do not know the meaning of the Sabbath. They do not know that the most powerful act a creator can perform is the act of psychological cessation. When you have truly convinced yourself that you are the person you want to be, the work of creating is over. Any further effort to make it happen is a confession of doubt, and doubt is the poison that kills the manifestation in its tracks. The angst of the 21st century professional is the angst of someone who thinks they must control the uncontrollable. You look at your bank balance, and you see a number that dictates your heartbeat. You look at your job, and you see a structure that dictates your freedom. You believe that you must micromanage every event, every conversation, and every economic shift to ensure your survival. But the mystic tells you that your only responsibility is the internal decree. Once the feeling of "I am wealthy" or "I am successful" has become your natural state of being, you must enter the rest. You must stop the external struggle. This is not a call to physical inactivity, but a call to psychological stillness. You will still walk through the world, you will still answer emails, and you will still perform your tasks, but you will do so from the conviction of the end. You are no longer working for a result. You are walking through the realization of a fact. If you are still forcing, still worrying, and still planning the how, you have not yet entered the Sabbath. You are still a laborer in the fields of lack. To shift your reality tonight, you must reach the point where the physical world of 2026 no longer has the power to disturb your inner peace. You must reach the point where you can look at the facts of your poverty and smile, knowing they are nothing more than the fading shadows of a dream you have already discarded. This cessation of effort is the birth of the bridge of incidence. Neville Goddard taught that once the subconscious is impressed, it moves the world in ways that are often entirely natural and even seemingly mundane. You do not build this bridge, you walk across it. You might find yourself being moved to visit a certain place, to call a certain person, or to take a specific action that seems unrelated to your goal. Because you have entered the Sabbath, you take these actions without friction. They feel like play. They feel like the next logical step in a story that has already been written. The 99% fail because they try to build the bridge themselves. They try to force the lucky break. They try to hustle their way into the right rooms. But the how is the domain of the subconscious, and the subconscious is infinitely more efficient than your frantic conscious mind. When you stop interfering, the subconscious can utilize the entire web of human connections and economic currents to bring your desire to pass. You will receive a phone call you didn't expect. You will encounter an opportunity you didn't seek. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, and the world will call it coincidence. But you will know it was the mechanical result of your internal rest. The Sabbath is the moment you stop being the architect and start being the observer of your own triumph. You believe that there is an other out there that you must convince or overcome. You think your boss must be persuaded to give you a raise. You think the market must be favorable for your business to grow. You think your competitors must be defeated. This is the illusion of the fragmented mind. In the year 2026, where the other is constantly shoved in your face through screens and social comparisons, the truth is more radical than ever. There is no one to change but self. There is no boss to convince. There is only your consciousness of being a person who is either overlooked or valued. There is no market to beat. There is only your consciousness of being either restricted or abundantly supplied. When you change your feeling of who you are, the others in your world are compelled by law to reflect that change. They have no choice. They are the shadows on the wall of your cave. If the shadows are not to your liking, you do not argue with them. You move the light. Your I am is that light. The moment you enter the Sabbath of your success, the people around you will begin to act in ways that support your new state. They will do so without knowing why. They will believe they are acting on their own volition, but they are merely fulfilling the decree you issued in the silence of your own heart. To manifest effortlessly, you must reach a state of total psychological possession. You must be able to say, "It is finished," with the same certainty that the sun will rise tomorrow. The 99% fail because they stay in the state of approaching the goal. They are always getting closer, but they never arrive. They are always almost there, which means they are always in the state of not quite. To shift your reality tonight, you must arrive. You must enter the room of your desire and lock the door behind you. You must stay there until the room feels more real than the street outside. As you prepare to drift into the final sleep of this cycle, do not bring the year 2026 with you. Do not bring the hustle. Do not bring the plans. Bring only the feeling of the finished act. Feel the cool, stable reality of your professional security. Feel the solid, undeniable weight of your financial abundance. Let these feelings saturate every cell of your body until you reach the point of saturation, where you no longer even want the manifestation because you already possess the substance of it. This is the seal of the Sabbath. This is the secret that separates the master from the masses. The world of shadows will tell you that you are being irresponsible. It will tell you that you must worry, that you must plan, and that you must struggle. It will point to the news, the data, and the digital reports of your failure. Do not listen. Your eyes are lying to you. They are only reporting what was, not what is. The truth is that you are the sovereign of your consciousness. Your feeling is the only secret, the only cause, and the only power. When you change your feeling, you change the world. The struggle is not an external necessity, it is an internal choice. Tonight, choose the rest, choose the throne, choose the I am of your highest vision. Fall asleep in the mundane, boring naturalness of being the person you have always dreamed of being. Let the subconscious mind work while you rest. The how is handled. The when is now. The work is finished. You are the dreamer who has finally taken control of the dream. Walk through the world tomorrow not as a seeker, but as a possessor. The mirror will bow. The economy will move. The world will reflect you. It is done. It is done. It is done.